Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Caffeinate for June the 5th. My name is Samuel Adams, and welcome to today's show. For those that don't know, this is the 150,000% professional morning gaming news show that brings you the hottest stuff you need to know to get you through your day of nerdy awesome news right before E3, which means there is a ton of hype and also a ton of leaks that are hitting the internet and bringing a lot of people excitement along the way. Of course, this is the final days before E3. These are the final days before E3, I should say, and that means that there are a ton of leaks. We've got some stuff that PlayStation has chosen to announce before the show as compared to what they did last year with kind of like this pre-show kind of thing. We got some Fallout 76 potential news, Lords of the Fallen 2 information, maybe a remake of Avengers Ultimate Alliance or the Ultimate Alliance reboot, and also one game that I love to talk about, which is Faction Guerrilla. The fact that it's getting a remastered edition, we have some definitive news on that. Now, but without further ado, I suppose we will go ahead and jump into today's stories. First off, Sony to announce new PS4 games ahead of E3 2018. Let the countdown to E3 2018 officially begin, as if it hadn't already. E3 2018 starts in a little under a week, and ahead of the massive showcase, Sony has released an announcement schedule on the PlayStation blog leading up to its press conference on Monday, June the 11th. Starting on Wednesday, June the 6th, which is tomorrow at the time of recording/streaming this, Sony plans to announce 3 games, a release date for an upcoming game, more than likely a PS4 exclusive, and details of, quote, an eagerly anticipated game coming to PlayStation VR, each being offered once a day for the next 5 days, effectively concluding on Sunday, June the 10th. From Wednesday to Sunday, each announcement will be held at 8 a.m. Pacific Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, which I am very excited about, which is just a couple of hours away as we join Sony for its countdown to E3 of 2018. It is difficult to say what those 3 new games could be, as a few of Sony's studios are already working on named projects. Ben Studio is working on Days Gone. Japan Studio is supposedly working on Astro Bot Rescue Mission, which, man, that's going to be a rough one, isn't it? London Studio is working on Blood and Truth. Media Molecule is still working on Dreams, believe it or not, still working on that game. And Naughty Dog is working on The Last of Us Part 2, while Sucker Punch is working on Ghost of Tsushima. However, in the past 4 or so years, Sony has opened 4 new studios: Pixel Opus, established in 2014, Manchester Studio in 2015, Forward Works in 2016, and San Mateo Studio, which was also in 2016. Pixel Opus is currently working on Concrete Genie, which is slated for a 2018 release, but there is no official confirmation of what the other studios are in fact working on, so Sony could have these 3 studios announce their projects, which sounds pretty likely. Again, the E3 press conference for Sony is Monday, June the 11th at 9 p.m. It is so late Eastern Time. Be sure to check out our E3 2018 page if you want to check all of that GameSpot coverage out. But this is a very good way of doing this. So for those that don't know how Sony did their kind of pre-E3 hype in the past, last year specifically, I remember there being a show just before the show went on, so it was probably about maybe 2 hours, maybe an hour of live coverage of games that were being revealed outside of the show floor itself. And that's a cool concept on paper. That's something that sounds neat on paper, but in practice, it doesn't have that same kind of delivery, and it doesn't bring that same kind of excitement. So I think what Sony is trying to do here is kind of rework their approach to how they want to reveal games and kind of make it feel like a leak. They want to make it feel like something that isn't necessarily supposed to come out. That's pretty much what you got going on here. So I am excited to see what they have coming down the pipe. It doesn't seem like the games that are going to be revealed before E3 are going to be the big crowd pleasers. It doesn't seem like those are going to be the big games that are, you know, standout, mind-blowing titles from this year's show. In my opinion, if I had to say, I think these are games that would not get the attention that they potentially deserve if they were just revealed at the show itself. If they were up on stage and if everybody was paying attention to them at one time, I think these games might fall a little bit flat. So Sony is choosing to go ahead and get ahead of that and maybe do a couple of reveals before the show officially kicks off, which I think is a pretty good idea and a pretty good approach to how to do the reveal whenever you do have a game like that, or a studio that is making a game like that is yet to prove itself. You know, if you go up on stage at E3 and you announce a new Uncharted, or if you give us more The Last of Us gameplay or anything like that, that's when we get hyped up. But to come out and give us a brand new IP from a studio that we've never really heard before except in a press release where you are actually, you know, revealing the studio's existence, then I think that that this is the best way to do it if you are doing that kind of game that is brand new. So keep your eye to the ground. ear to the ground, there we go, over the next couple of days as more and more games and leaks come out from E3, because man, are there so many leaks this year. I mean, obviously this isn't a leak, this is planned, but when it comes down to it, man, there are a ton of leaks, which we will talk about in a moment, from Warner Brothers that happened literally just a couple of minutes ago. Moving on to the next story of the day, Fallout 76 had a July 31st release date on Amazon before it was pulled. For a short period of time last week, Amazon had Fallout 76 listed for a July 31st release date. Fallout 76 was announced last week with only a brief teaser trailer featuring the soothing tones of a John Denver cover. Shortly after, a pre-order page for the game went up on Amazon. Initially, the product page had a July 31st release date when it went live via Massively OP. This has now changed to the much more vague December 31st of 2019. Although Bethesda has yet to announce a release date for Fallout 76, some believe Amazon is privy to this information, hence the July 31st date. Unfortunately, this could be as much an error as it is the game's actual release date. Bethesda doesn't typically release Fallout games in July, and if Fallout 76 is indeed due for a release this year, it's much more likely that it would be in October or November. For now, we will have to wait for Bethesda to tell us all at its E3 2018 conference. So, this could potentially be the release date. However, I I cannot emphasize how highly I doubt this. July 31st is potentially one of the worst times to release a game because you are literally in the midst of everybody going on vacation. And I'm looking right now, and it is a Tuesday, so there is potential there. But for them to release a game in the middle of July, or the beginning of August, really, is potentially one of the worst decisions they can make. However, depending on the type of game that it is, depending on what we are actually looking at with Fallout 76, it could be a pretty good idea, because if it is heavy in the online nature, that could give everything time to kind of shake out. That could give the back end of stuff to really stabilize as far as servers go, as far as community management goes, as far as a lot of the factors that go into a quality online experience. If it is going to be something like your DayZ or your Rust, they can work out all of the kinks, and by the time that October or November rolls around, they can release the first big update that brings out more content, more DLC, whatever it may be. So that could be what they are doing with this approach, if it is in fact coming out on July the 31st. For me, I could see this being more of an October or November release date. This doesn't seem like a game that is going to be coming out in July. As far back as I can remember, Fallout has always been an October/November title. It just feels like that's whenever you get all these brand new games, because it's hyping people up for the holiday season. So if you have a game coming out on July the 31st, then maybe it could work out depending on the approach, but I would say this is probably just going to be something that was more so a placeholder than anything, and probably an intern hit the wrong button, if I had to guess. But very excited to see what Fallout 76 brings to the table whenever we are watching Bethesda's press conference, because something's different about what they have going on with Bethesda this year. It seems like there are new ideas as compared to what we've seen in the past. Not to say that Bethesda has not been innovative in the past, but just to say that there are definitely new ideas that are being presented this year with a brand new take on Fallout that is not like anything we've seen before, but I bet it will build in those building mechanics that we saw in Fallout 4. However, we could make a Fallout 76 predictions video. We will not. It could come out on July the 31st, but my bet is that it will come out later on in the fall, whenever games traditionally come out, because you know, people are going back to school, people are going back to college, people are doing a whole bunch of stuff. You don't have time to really dig your teeth into a game on July the 31st necessarily, but they very well could, and switch up the industry in the meantime. Moving on to the next story of the day, Warner Brothers Games is to reveal something before the E3 2018 showcase. Excuse me. The last time we saw Warner Bros. Interactive Entertainment, the company released Harry Potter Hogwarts Mystery on Android and iOS. While the game has an abysmal 43 on Metacritic for iOS and the Android version has yet to be scored, Warner Brothers took to Twitter Monday, June the 4th, to give us a little tease, simply writing, "Let the countdown begin." You know, I could write more here, but let's just move on to this next story that was actually broken, I think, maybe, by the Green Man Gaming newsroom. Warner Brothers accidentally leaks Hitman 2. Warner Brothers has accidentally revealed the existence of Hitman 2 after a logo for the game briefly appeared on its website before being removed. However, the publisher has since teased Hitman 2's proper reveal via its Twitter feed. Accompanying a cryptic video are the words, "Watch the live reveal Thursday at 10 a.m., plus a link to a website where the reveal will be streamed. Since picking up the publishing rights to Hitman after Square Enix sold the stealth games developer to IO Interactive in 2017, but let it keep the rights to the franchise, Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment hasn't wasted any time. It recently released Hitman Definitive Edition and is now poised to unveil Hitman 2 just before the E3 show kicks off. The most recent iteration of Hitman 2016's Reboot, delivered in episodic form, received much praise and healthy sales, so there is likely every likelihood that Hitman 2 will follow a similar format. However, we won't know for sure until 10 a.m. on Thursday, June the 7th. So, this is literally the sequel to 2016's Hitman, which I think might be coming out a bit too soon. Maybe that's just me. However, I think this is a really interesting take on how Warner Brothers is approaching going about their business, because obviously with the most recent, mobile Hogwarts game, it is what it is, but there hasn't really been a really definitively good Warner Brothers game for a couple of years now, so Hitman 2 is a pretty good option. I think it was a really good way to reboot the franchise with Hitman, the one that came out in 2016, because the episodic format was fantastic, the free DLC model was fantastic. I know that the back end of stuff was a little bit rough as far as development studios and publishing and stuff goes. I know there were some bumps in the road on that one, but they did very well with it, and people still love Hitman to this day, which is why it's gotten so many different editions of the game. I mean, it's come out multiple times, and people buy it every single time, so it would make sense for them to go ahead and do a Hitman 2. I just wish that we would figure out ways to make new names in the industry, because right now, I mean, you've got Battlefield V, and then we had Battlefield 1 last year, but Battlefield 1 came out like 10 years ago, 10 plus years ago. You've got, Call of Duty World War II, but now you've got Black Ops 4, and it's just like a lot of stuff going on. It's very jarring, so I would love to be able to figure out how to name games appropriately, but who cares about the name? It's all about what's on the inside. So hopefully Hitman is going to be a great game. Hopefully Hitman 2 is going to really deliver whenever it hits the E3 show this year, and maybe I will definitely give a reaction to what's going on with the Hitman 2 reveal whenever that does come out on this Thursday at 10 a.m. And again, keep your ear to the ground on that one. But of course, I love a good leak like that. There's nothing better than it's like we're hyping something up, and then we were hyping that up. So I just love it. I don't know. Part of me has always loved a good leak. Maybe it's just the cynical side of me, but I know somebody worked very hard on probably building up something and being like, oh my god, it's Hitman 2. But this is probably even better for the press, to be honest with you. A lot of these are probably, in reality, just the marketing team leaking stuff early because it's really good for sales and whatnot. So moving on to the next story of the day, Lords of the Fallen 2 is being worked on by a new studio. Lords of the Fallen had plenty of people talking when it originally released. However, after that, it seemingly dropped off the radar. Now, though, CI Games has confirmed a sequel is still happening. However, Lords of the Fallen 2 is being handled by a different developer. CI Games CEO Merrick, that's a big last name, Tyminski, released a statement saying, "We talked to a number of globally respected studios that had shown a strong interest in making the next Lords of the Fallen and received several solid pitches. We finally decided to move forward with Defiant because we were impressed with their game concept, production expertise, and the pedigree of their developers." Also in the chat, Razum, how's it going? I'm doing very well, my man. Welcome on in. The developer hasn't released any other details on Lords of the Fallen 2. The sequel was announced when the original game was released, or announced when it was, wow, what? The sequel was announced when the original game released. Hey guys, here's the new game. You want another one? Okay, we're working on it. This was back in 2014. CI Games' Tomáš Gop, who was released back in June of 2017, said the development was taking longer than expected when Mr. Gop worked on the game. It was still in its very early stages. So we're going to be seeing a new Lords of the Fallen coming to us from Defiant, which I think is going to be pretty cool. For those that have never played this game, it was very much so a Dark Souls ripoff. I mean, that's pretty much what it comes down to. There were a couple of aspects of it that were definitive to that specific game, but ultimately it was pretty much a Dark Souls ripoff, which was kind of disappointing to some degree. So, with Lords of the Fallen 2, I think there's enough lore here where you can get something that is a little bit more in-depth than the first game. I think that the combat could definitely be improved a good bit. I think there's a lot to love within the world of Lords of the Fallen, but I don't think that it's necessarily going to be one of those definitive experiences that I continue to go back to year after year. However, like I said, there's potentially, or just has to be fleshed out, so hopefully Defiant can get in there, really make something of the game, and maybe give it its own kind of flavor that is unique to Lords of the Fallen itself. And I would love to see that become a reality. So definitely going to be giving that one a look, and I will find more out about this at E3, I think. So hopefully we'll see that on the show floor, and I would love to see some coverage of it and see an interview talking about what they're changing and what new stuff they're bringing in, because I really need somebody to convince me of this game. Normally I can see what's going on with a game before it even comes out. I can kind of read it, and everyone generally can. But with this one, I want to learn more before I give a judgment, because it looks really genuinely good. I loved Lords of the Fallen, but there were just so many little issues with the complexities of it, where it's like the gameplay wasn't necessarily great. The looks of the game were okay, but they could have been improved. Overall, I digress. Good game, solid 6 out of 10, but I want the sequel to be a solid 10 out of 10. Moving on to the next story of the day, upcoming Avengers game is an Ultimate Alliance reboot, coming to us from Game Rant. When it was announced that Square Enix and Marvel were teaming up to deliver a new Avengers game, commonly referred to as the Avengers Project, fans of the long-standing comic franchise were ecstatic to say the least. Currently, very little is known about the project, but new rumors indicate that it could in fact be a reboot of the Ultimate Alliance video games. These rumors also suggest that a catastrophic event results in the separation of the heroes without yet another Civil War plot taking place. Many thought that this was the teaser trailer depicted below suggested a Civil War inspired story, but this rumor indicates that #reassemble means a reunification of the team following said event during the Avengers project. However, that is not to say that the story wouldn't follow a comic run altogether. That is just not Civil War. Moreover, the story is supposedly focusing on Captain America, Iron Man, and Scarlet Witch, while other heroes could be playable in an Ultimate Alliance style. These three characters supposedly drive the story forward, and this rumor is seemingly supported by the voice of Scarlet Witch in the trailer that released some time ago. Of course, there is still some more time before we get an official confirmation from Square Enix or Marvel, but these rumors should be taken with a healthy grain of salt. It would be a hard-pressed, or I would be hard-pressed, it would be hard-pressed, sure, to either prove or disprove these rumors as they're seemingly supported by the teaser. While many believe that Square Enix is focusing on Kingdom Hearts 3 releasing this year, it would be surprising not to hear something about the brand new Avengers project. So we will be seeing more at E3's Square Enix press conference starting at 1 p.m., 10 a.m. PST, 1 p.m. EST, and 6 p.m. BST on Monday, June the 11th. The Avengers Project seems like a pretty good idea. If you'd ever played Ultimate Alliance, it's pretty much where it's almost like a Lego game setup, come to think of it, but with more combat, where you can just kind of pop in and out, change characters and stuff like that, and really and really dive into the world of Marvel and get a pretty good story along with it. So I know that there was Ultimate Alliance and Ultimate Alliance 2. I think that's about it, but the games were really definitive PS2 experiences for me. And it would be cool to see it come back. I don't see why it wouldn't come back, because obviously now is the time to do that, because superheroes are pretty much at their peak. They have never been more popular. But I would say that this game is probably not going to come out until the next Avengers movie comes out. I think it's the Avengers 4, and I've heard a lot about that movie, and I know that that is a lot of hype driven behind that. So I would not be surprised to see that kind of lumped in and be like, hey, here's the new movie, and then if you want, here is $5 off the video game if you show your ticket at GameStop or whatever. You know, you could do a thing like that. So that would be pretty good marketing, but we'll see what goes on with that. It just is one of those things where I still can't get excited about it just because I've had so much superhero stuff pushed down my throat. That's what it is. It's just so much superhero stuff just pushed down my throat, and I don't want any more. But Ultimate Alliance Infinity War very well could be a thing. Ultimate Alliance Civil War sounds like it's not going to be a thing, but pretty much that's the gist of it. And we will see more as time goes on, and I wouldn't expect to hear anything about this at E3. It seems like this is still pretty early in development, even though there was the announcement trailer, so maybe we'll see more, but I would not necessarily pencil this one in on my predictions list for what they're going to show at the Square Enix conference on Monday, June the 11th. So we will definitely keep up to date on what's going on here, but again, I wouldn't expect too much. But moving on to the next story that I am very, very excited about, Red Faction Guerrilla's Remastered Edition arrives in July. Red Faction Guerrilla's, this is it, Remastered Edition, literally because it takes place on Mars, will include enhanced visuals, 60 FPS on consoles, and a free PC copy for owners, or for customers who own the original. Red Faction Guerrilla is perhaps the most popular of the Red Faction games, so it's no surprise that THQ had plans to remaster it. All the same, it looks like THQ is going all out with this Remastered Edition, complete with 60 FPS on consoles and native 4K support on PC. Rasm says Ultimate Alliance 2 was actually Civil War. Didn't know that, never played it. Talked in the back of my mind, gonna save that one for later. But all versions of Red Faction Guerrilla Remastered will include complete graphical enhancements from reworked textures to specular maps. The PC version will include native 4K support, while console versions include options for 60 FPS or 4K at 30 playing options. The trade-offs between the versions are listed below. So essentially it's at 900p on Xbox One at 60 FPS, or on Xbox One X you can get 1800p at 60 FPS or 4K at 30. PS4 gets 1080p at 60 FPS. Hell yeah. And then you get PS4 Pro, you can get 1500p at 60 or 4K at 30. On the gameplay front, the remastered version will be largely similar to the Explosive Classic Edition. I can't remember anything that's really... There's no big issue with it. The game is beautiful. If you've never played Red Faction Guerrilla, it's probably one of the best games that I've played in my life, when it comes to the destructibility of the environments, when it comes to the story itself, when it comes to the way that everything is set up, it is amazing. But also to note, PC players get an additional bonus, a free copy of the game. Anyone who already has a copy of Faction Guerrilla in their Steam account will automatically unlock the new edition at launch, which I have in my Steam account. So I'm going to be playing this. I'll be streaming this. I love this thing. But the game is coming out on July the 3rd of 2018. I'm very excited to see more of some gameplay. I would love to see the textures and all that good stuff. I need a trailer, aside from just this one that we've already seen. You know, I've seen more of it, but overall, the game is fantastic. I would highly recommend giving it a shot. It's worth whatever amount they're asking for, because it's one of the most in-depth games. It's one of the best games that I can remember. And again, look at that. I mean, really, just enjoy this for a moment. I know that audio listeners are like over here, you know, kind of out in the cold, but man, it's just, there's so much good destruction and oh, it's so good. I remember playing the demo of this way back in the day, and I just fell in love with it. It's fantastic. So if you want to dive in on that, you can get 60 FPS on your consoles. You can get Faction Guerrilla on Mars. Tons of stuff there. And again, July the 3rd for that one, and you can even play it in 4K if you wanted to. Ooh. Moving on to the next story of the day, Bungie will reveal Destiny 2's fall expansion Forsaken tomorrow, which is actually today now. So it's coming out later on today. So Bungie announced today that it will reveal Destiny 2's second year of content on June the 5th. The stream will feature Bungie community manager DJ. I think it's DJ, or it might be Deej. I'm not really sure. I'm not a part of the Destiny community, okay? I just report on news and stuff. But you'll see more about that today. Update on June the 4th, Bungie has revealed the name and location of the fall expansion in a new teaser. The short trailer shows Hunter Vanguard Cade 6 landing in the reef alongside another Hunter, likely the player character. At the end, we see that the expansion is called Destiny 2 Forsaken. The reef is a returning location from Destiny and home to the mysterious awoken player race. The icon shown under the Forsaken name at the end of the trailer also looks to be a Fallen House sigil, which seems to confirm our Fallen-related suspicions. We will learn more about the event today, and whenever the event does go live, and that's pretty much what you've got here. I mean, I'll show you guys exactly what you've got, but it's pretty much what you would expect. I mean, we've got more D2. So more will be revealed today. I think it's at 9 a.m. Pacific time, so that'd be noon my time, and I will definitely see what's going on, and we will talk about this tomorrow on the episode of Caffeinate that will be live again tomorrow at 7 a.m. Eastern time on youtube.com/Samuel Adams Media. But for this reveal to be taken in the best way that it possibly can, this has to be perfect. This, as I was saying yesterday, is literally what Destiny 2's future hinges on. If the September expansion doesn't fulfill the expectations the players have set for it, this could be the end of Destiny 2, and no one will care about what comes out down the pipe. However, people love Destiny 2 more than they like to let on. If you look in the Destiny 2 directory on things like Twitch and Mixer, you'll see a lot of people that are talking about the way that the game has let them down, the way that the game has not been good, and people have come back to Warmind even after what has happened in the past with D2. And I think that even if the September expansion isn't necessarily good, there are still going to be people that grind it out. There are still going to be people that play the spring expansion next year. It's still going to be a game that gets a good bit of love. So year 2 is definitely going to be an interesting time for D2, and I think that maybe, if I am reading the situation correctly, we're going to be seeing a lot of a big improvement when it comes to what is happening behind D2, because they're becoming much more involved with the community side of things. They are listening to the player base and seeing what the fans actually want as compared to what board members who don't play the game actually try and push for. So if you want to see the D2 reveal, you can watch that again live today at 9 a.m. Pacific time. Everybody is pumped up for it. I've seen people go live with countdown stuff on Twitch. I've seen people go live with discussions and podcasts. So much stuff going on surrounding the D2 reveal, and I'm very excited to see it for myself. We will see what goes on, but as for right now, I guess we'll just have to wait for a little while and see what exactly they have in store whenever it is revealed later on this morning. And our final story of the day, God of War PS4 still has a secret that no one has found. I thought that I would leave you guys with a bit of a mystery that perhaps you can dive back into the game and see if you can find for yourself. It turns out Kratos is still pretty good at keeping his mouth shut. God of War has been out for well over a month now, enough time that most games would have been plumbed completely clean. Plumbed? scavenged, clean of Easter eggs and secrets. Apparently, though, Sony Santa Monica's latest game still has something left to find. Quote, I think there's still one thing that no one has found yet that I know for certain because I haven't seen any stories about it, game director Cory Barlog told Gaming Bolt. Quote, now I'm not going to tell you what that is, but I don't know if there's any cinematics per se. It seems like people have been able to get all of the permutations. Yes, not one person, but everyone collectively. He also mused that these kinds of secrets tend to be discovered quickly. I always think that people are usually figure out things within hours, and the fact that we went a week without people figuring things out was impressive, he said. Given the stellar sales of God of War, it's surprising anything is left to uncover, and we do know that Sony hid some nifty secrets in this franchise reboot, including an homage to Marvel films Avengers Infinity War. Barlog didn't mention any of the in-game metrics to say for certain if the secret has been found, so it's possible a fan actually has found it, but not publicized it. Now that we suspect something else is waiting to be uncovered, fans are sure to scour that they're going to look for it. So if you want to dive back in and try and find whatever this thing is, then I would highly recommend it. If you have not played God of War, fantastic game. One of the best games that I've ever played on PS4, on a PlayStation console. In fact, it's very beautiful. It definitely does rework everything about the God of War franchise to make it a completely and totally new experience that makes me very warm and fuzzy on the inside. So if you haven't played it, it's worth picking up, even worth buying at full price, or it's at least worth a rent if you want to see if it is your thing. But to have one extra secret there that no one has found is something that I was kind of shocked at, and I'm kind of excited about it. I might go back in and just play around with it. I'll never be one that is scavenging hard enough to find everything that's within the game. But I know that there are some people out there that love doing that, and I would love to see what the secret actually is, and maybe somebody's found it, maybe they haven't. Who actually knows? We don't know, because Cory Barlog didn't reveal any kind of metrics or anything like that. But I'm sure that over the next couple of weeks, we will be seeing more about this story, and more people will be discovering more within the game, and also making some amazing-looking pictures with that new photo mode that was added a couple of updates ago. But that wraps it up for today's episode of Caffeinate. It was a short one. I hope you guys enjoyed today's show. If you did, then you can follow me over there on Twitter and know when I go live in the mornings if you would like to do that. You can find me over on podcast services at Samuel Adams. You can search that and Caffeinate and stuff like that. It's probably going to pop up in your search bar. And you can follow me over on Instagram and all that good stuff. Everything is down below if you want to do any of that stuff. But I appreciate you guys being here. I hope you have a fantastic day. I will come at you tomorrow morning with more caffeine to myself so that I can provide you a better version of Caffeinate in the morning. Because sometimes you hit them, sometimes you don't, but we covered the news today and we got through it. So I love you guys very much. I hope you have a fantastic day. I will talk to you soon, and enjoy the rest of your day. And also, let me know what you think about that D2 reveal. If you are into the world of Destiny 2, I would definitely be interested in seeing what you have to say. But anyways, I love you guys. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace.